All right, let's bring some people up in here. All right, Nathan has requested bring some energy.
John Zherka.
Energy.
Right here. I was just looking at the individuation process where Young speaks about the shadow. When you technically resent your mother, you kind of seek towards the philosophy route, and it ends up covering your creativity and your child mind. Like, would that affect you more, or should I still seek the shadows?
Well, you don't seek your shadow because it's always behind you. That's why it just naturally comes out when someone pisses you off, right? You'll project something. So if someone calls you weak and you go, "No, I'm not weak. I am actually," that anger, that instinctive, just boom, explosion of emotion, that has revealed a piece of your insecurity. So
That exactly.
now, what's your question?
That was my question. That I have those moments where people try to offend me, they try to bring me down, but it doesn't affect me. So, what exactly does that mean to you, according to Young?
I'll say this. I'll answer your first question because it was deeper about getting too philosophical. Listen, I think to achieve psychic wholeness, when Zerka's having a good day, I feel like that's what everyone should aim for, right? And that's most of the time. And I would say I am the best at balancing the spiritual, philosophical side of my nature with the superficial tits and Kim Kardashian other side. And I do it intentionally not to forget my mission on earth because a lot of you guys, you'll dive into spirituality and it's so good in the beginning and then it starts to get dark for you. Well, it's getting dark because you're not balancing it with your day-to-day tasks, your social responsibilities to yourself and community. And people are like, wait a minute, so I'm supposed to be a mystic with an iPhone? I'm supposed to be a mystic that talks about also like the news and the memes and blah blah. Yes, yes, you can't escape the spirit of our times, bro. That spirit, that spirit must be answered, or else you will feel left behind by the community. And what an incel really is he feels ripped out like a brick ripped out of a building wall, and he just wants to be a part of that building. Like a lot of people think the process of individuation is being an individual. That's not what it is. For example, a North Korean soldier, he's the same as any other Asian guy in that military. He's identical to them. There's nothing individualistic about him. They all even look the same, some people say. Some people. And now, this soldier, because he's like hundreds of thousands of other soldiers, you can't even spot him. He's not an individual, he's a part of that collective system. He is very individuated because he's a part of that system, because
Uh,
the system brings him meaning. You understand that we go around and round on the things that loop in our head because we're trying to find meaning. Why this is why the scariest thing that could happen is you becoming a gamer, whether successful or not, you playing Fortnite all day, droning away. There is no meaning to that. That's why you freak the fuck out when you're a gamer and you're constantly neurotic and anxious. Dude, everything you do has to have meaning, especially your self destructive habits. That's why I think gaming is the most dangerous poison ever inflicted. But it's not even the game. If you really think about it, the video game has nothing to do with why that young man wants to get lost in a desert called Fortnite. And he just keeps wandering that desert, doing anything he can not to face his own soul. My dude, when you face your own soul, you're not alone anymore. Get up and start your life today.
mm,
Join the secret society server. Don't say,
Amazing.
yo, Zherka, you changed my life, but I don't give you a
Amazing.
dollar. You changed my life, but I'm not going to give you a dollar. You owe me money.
Amazing,
God,
Zerka.
God is watching you be cheap. AJ,
Always.
you're doing great here. I'm going to keep you, okay?
One question more. One more question.
Absolutely.
That was amazing. I was taking notes. I'm gonna sit on this again, and I'm chasing a tattoo artist route. What do you think, really quick?
Honestly, man, when it comes to you artistic types, I seldom ever give you guys a direct response because an artist, whether musician, painter, whatever, you guys cannot be told what to do by someone. You guys are the only class of people that there's
Ah,
because you have to
gotcha.
remember the painting, the painter does not make the painting that he slaves away for, that he'll cut his ear for, that he'll go his whole life poor and alone for this painting he wants to do.
Yes, yes.
The painter does not make the painting. The painting makes the painter. That means something psychically is coming out of you that you need to do this. And if I ever replace the symbol for your libido, which is your creative process, it's not just hooking up. That's like 1% of the libido. It's everything else you do. People think libido comes from sex drive. No, sex drive is a component, byproduct of libido, this creative force of nature. Whatever it is, whether you want to be JTF2 like my family members, whatever you want to do, whether you want to be a SEAL, you want to be this, you want to be that, there's a creative expression that's dying to, and it pushes out of you even if you're not doing anything creative. To you artists, I'm telling you, I cannot give you, of all people, I cannot give advice to. You just have to do whatever the is pushing out of you.
No, yeah, definitely answered my question. Appreciate you. Understood.
Yeah, if that was sarcasm, that you're funny.
No, no, dead ass, dead ass. Cause you put my thoughts into words. Like, I get you.
All right.
I don't want to take too much time. I want to hear other questions. Thank you.
Don't worry, bro. Time doesn't even exist. All we have is each other. And I want to talk about that. Like, nobody realizes that the dragon in all mythology and all lore, whenever you hear the word dragon, you're hearing the front tail end of the future and the back tail end of the past. All you're hearing when you hear the word dragon, this is a synonymous word with time, the soul eating component of time. And time doesn't even exist. For example, a lot of you guys who message me, email me, say, well, I don't know, man, I'm 45, and so what? If you pop off at 45, you know how bored you will get after a year of traveling the world? You're going to say, I did everything I dreamt to do, and now I'm bored. That's how fast you can play catch up in leisure. That you could look at all these Facebook and YouTube and Twitter accounts that are having great lives in Dubai and stuff. Bro, you can do and have all those experiences, and it's not like 20 years of their to stay in Dubai is different than your 1 year because you both get bored of it in less than a year. Yes, dude, time doesn't exist. When you make it in life, you get everything coming back to you in waves, and you go to yourself, huh? So 10 years of worrying and being anxious was just because of that dragon? Yes, dude, that dragon in your head needs to be ignored. It doesn't even exist. And it's like, I can't think of anything that eats the soul more than time. I can't think of anything a human can do they can do whatever they love and it gets spoiled because they think of, I should have started sooner, I should have done this, I should have done.
Yeah.
But dude, if you really want to scare yourself, let me turn the blade in your stomach 23 and a half hours of your day. You are unconscious, an autonomous being going through motions from impulses you don't know where they come from. Now, let me tell you something. If 23 and a half hours of your day, you're unconsciously just moving around and then sleeping and even deeper, my dude, be conscious by saying it's 5:30 a.m. doesn't exist, and I'm here with Zherka and I'm listening to a podcast without thinking, which one should I listen to after? Should I listen to another podcast? Do I have somewhere to be? I have something to do. I have nothing to do. Now I'm worried because I have nothing to do. I should make a schedule. It's always a battle of time. And when you do everything you want to do that day, you're still getting torn up by this dragon doesn't even exist. My dude, what if I told you this? What if I told you you never die? That means if, let me tell you this. I'm not saying you never die, but if I told you a human being never dies, then you're spending infinity worrying about time. Stop worrying. Because if there's even a 1% chance you live on forever and the moment just evolves, if there's a 1% chance that's true, and you're afraid it's true, but if there's 1% chance that's true, then you're spending eternity worrying, eternity suffering in this cage. This dragon doesn't exist, my dude.
No, yeah, I'm with you. I hear you.
Yo,
Yo, Zherka.
Yeah.
yo, Mr. Glitch, go ahead, bro.
So I have a quick question. What made you ultimately choose the Catholic Church over the Orthodox Church?
Yeah, for me, around, I couldn't wrap my head around, you know, the whole history of Christianity and how it was Catholic and how everyone got that wrong, you know? Like to say Catholicism is wrong would kind of be to go against every Christian intellectual since the start of you know the soul saving faith, right?
Yeah.
Now, yeah, and I don't want to be in that camp. Another thing is it kind of feels like a defeatist position. Anytime you go to Orthodox or Protestant, what you're really going to is a spin-off. Like I know that you guys are old and you guys go hard, but it doesn't compare. Um, and I don't really like the whole. It's kind of almost disrespectful how you guys talk about the mother of Christ. I don't like that at all. As an Albanian, bro, we love our moms. I don't like how you guys don't see that. I don't like how you guys push this narrative of you guys are worshiping Mary and stuff like that, and then anyone who's actually been in the faith or went to a traditional Latin mass or just regular, they know that like this is all hocus pocus. This is kind of just like come to our team language. And another thing is, I believe in reform. Like to reform the Catholic Church would fix a lot of problems, but to reform any Protestant anything or Orthodox, you don't really have the power to change the world. Like, no offense, you guys are very small. Protestants are very small. They do whatever the Catholics say. I'll say this: that if the Catholic Church went completely down, uh, we'd be in serious crisis. We'd be in crisis. That's 1.5 billion people on Earth, dude. Another thing is, it feels like to me that there's also a bias. Like I know this part a lot of people won't ever admit, but I think to be real, you have to admit your flaws. And we as humans have certain biases towards our bloodline and cultures. And Albanians, that's more Catholic, way more. And so there's also like that kind of like when I tapped into my ancestral kind of visions, and I'm like, whoa, I've been missing this part of my spiritual experience. Yeah, I tapped into the Catholic faith because I'm an Albanian, right? So now, if you're like Slavic and stuff, I get that the Orthodox thing is into your guys' blood, and go ahead, fight for it and stuff like that. But just like how it's in your blood to defend that, I have the same experience, and I always feel like I'm in the right, just like you guys feel like you're in the right. And I guess I'll top it off with my ultimate position is that your church is corrupt, mine is corrupt, every church is corrupt, because we have started chapter 1 of end times. That just makes sense. So that's like my ultimate position. And as much as I think worship should be taught, I really think the Bible is a book for you and yourself and no one else. Right. And, like Protestants get happy when I say that. But I think Protestants also, as powerful as they become, like leading the free world and stuff like that, because Catholics are allowing them, I really think that probably the most damning thing, probably the most damning evidence to not be a Protestant is, my dude, there's millions of Christians you've deceived into thinking faith over works when works is energized faith. Like you have to prove your faith with your hands. You have to you have to be a player in the game. And these Protestants go very far into saying like they say something to me. They don't ever fight evil, John, because bro, are you saying that God can't handle it? And I'm like, oh my God, this absolutist argument that like just sit at home and do nothing. And people are like, I'm not saying sit and do nothing, but really that's what being a Protestant is like you're really just saying you could play Fortnite all day and have faith, and there you're saved. And it's like, okay, but even if that's correct, you're still going 80 years of your life tormenting yourself. Because just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you don't have mental illness. And like all humans have mental illness, they all fight for something. They all get nervous and stressed and all that. That's why they're on this. They're on Twitter and all that. You're going 80 years of your life getting even more psychotically stressed out because you're not proving your faith. So the Catholic message is get out there and prove it so you at least feel healthy. And the Catholic message to the core, it's really about faith. It's really that. But they're also answering the human question of, listen, dude, you can pretend you're proving it to God, but prove it to yourself so you're healthy while you're on earth. That even if you're saved, to spend 80 years tormenting yourself, sitting in a room playing Fortnite all day saying, oh, I'm saved. I don't ever want to push that message on my young guys. I'd rather them like it sounds pragmatic, but I'll always say this: if you haven't converted anyone, you're not a Christian. And all the top Christian channels, as much as I know deep down they have an issue with what I'm saying, none of them critique this. They all of them say, let Zherka say that part, because they deep down want to convert more people. They're pragmatic too, because they're doing my job. I'm doing every day. I wake up to emails with you changed my life, you converted me, blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, as much as I love that, there's nothing more satanic than being 80 years on earth, being your wife, raising your kids, and being a good little Christian that converted no one. I can't think of anything more evil than that. Really, I can't. Um, they make arguments that I'll make my kids Christian and stuff, and it's like probably the most lazy arguments I've ever heard. Because what they're really saying is, I converted thousands of people before I to play Fortnite. But I have a wife and kids, so I'm a good Christian. And it's like, no, let's just go by the book, dude. If you don't spread it, you're not a Christian, period. I think that's half the message. The other half would be you have to spread it within your own heart. Because a lot of people don't understand is that when you become a Christian, you don't just transform and, your life's great. Yeah, it goes great. And then you start losing the glow, you lose the aura. And you have to find ways to sustain that aura for how many years? Look at Cliff, who was on George Jenko's podcast. He says for 40 years he keeps losing the energy and getting it back. And it's like that humans struggle with faith and grasping the God image. But I feel like when there's works involved, the struggle isn't that bad, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
go ahead.
And then what would be some advice to, or how did you start to build a Christian community?
Well, I come from a interesting spiritual background of certain mentors and seminars I went to that were very different. Very, I would say, I want to say they're Kabbalistic, but with a C. They're like the Christian Kabbalistic, not the Jewish or the Hermetic. And so I started in 2016, 17 like that with certain friends. And I like the peace of mind. I like learning about spirituality and stuff. And I built up on a lot of that info and stuff like that. I read heaps and heaps of, and then I spent a couple of years on Twitch debating about, believe it or not, flat Earth, because I was not a Christian. I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I want to get through all that. I've read these holy books, and I don't know if it's my time. And really, it's like a shame thing too. A bouncer doesn't want to just accept Christ, because like a bouncer lives a very fucked up life. And it's only until I had like the real world experience where I'm like, oh, good little incels who don't hook up with, they're sitting in the room fapping, like they're just as dark as the bouncer at the club. I had no idea. I'm like, oh right, this is how we weigh it. And yeah, when the whole world looked evil, well, not evil, but fallen. When as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, I can claim it. So I went hardcore and reread it, and it was about, I think it was February. Yeah, I was in my February energies. That's when I started going hard, and I was actually down to like, I think it was like $10,000. I spent a bunch the year before. I was going dead broke, and I'm like, okay, well, now I'm being tested, and I hate my first month of being a Christian. 2023 in February, and I lived in Texas, and I slipped into how you say, a traumatic state, through sleep paralysis, and I did some things to test it, and then it's been sunshine and rainbows ever since because I stuck through it. So I'd say last year in February is the first time I took it serious, and it was crazy because my chat was really about it. Even the ones who aren't Christians were like, "Okay, this is a better you." And then my crusade started, and then I'd go on all these podcasts, and I'd make all this money, and all this good stuff would happen to me, and I'd be like, but what's the messaging? Like, what if I drop dead right now? 100,000 viewers on Rumble on Fresh and Fit. Like, maybe my messaging should be like, if I kick the bucket and die right now, maybe I should bring some souls to God before I die. And then it started looking like a video game to me. I loved getting those emails, and now I dedicate the rest of my life to that. That it's like I dedicate so much of my time to converting people, but I don't do it like these channels that never blow up, because I know the spirit of the times evolves. I know culture evolves, and I know you can never bring Christianity back. You can only bring it back in an evolved form, like this technocratic Christianity, this kind of like,
Right.
it's going to be like, with computers and stuff, it's going to be a different version. You can't go back in time. You can only keep going forward. And so that's why I love breaking down hermetic principles and stuff like that, that we see these kind of texts being explained way better in the Bible. I love to break it down. So, like, when I'm speaking about spirituality and Christianity, a lot of people attack me like, you sound like a Christian mystic, but that's on purpose. My point is I'm throwing a net to capture fish that are independent, agnostic, atheists. That's who I'm going for. I'm not talking to Christians. I'll never talk to Christians. I don't give about Christians, because they're already converted. They're already headed towards God. And that net that I throw, it can never be like, I could say Jesus is king, and that gets attention. But if I keep repeating it, a bunch of people walk away from me. That's why I break down, like, let's look at the CIA files. Let's see what aligns with the Holy Bible. All the money on earth is around this book in the Vatican. Let's break it down scientifically. You like science? Let's go with science. This is why I try so many different angles, anything to not be a dogmatic Christian, because I know the spirit of the times has evolved, and the spirit of the times is everyone thinks for themselves, and they're like, they think that everyone thinks they're God, like everyone thinks they're intelligent. So I have to talk to them in a different way, and I'm so effective with converting people. It's f***ing insane that I'm actually shocked. Yeah, yeah, you see that? Another conversion. But yeah, I'm actually shocked that people don't like my methods. And a lot of people don't understand that it's like, most Christians on earth, and this is what will kill your soul too, is when they enter the faith, they become Gideon and give up on life. And remember what I said about him? That's what dogmatic Christianity looks like, where dogmatic Christianity means whoever your mentor is, that's what Christianity is. And it's different to all pastors and priests. Like, everyone teaches it in a different flavor. And I think the only flavor Christianity should be taught is with the spirit of the times, that these are Fortniters you're talking to. You have to use different language. You can't just say, hey, you're going to hell. They don't respond to that. They're not even designed to respond to that. There's not the 80s, bro. All right, let's get some other people in here.
All right, appreciate it. Shout out Myron. I
Yo,
seen that he just
can
joined too.
can anyone jump in right now?
Yo,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yo,
Nice, nice.
yo.
Before anything, I see a couple of people in here that I look up to. So nice to meet y'all. Zherka, so on the religion part, I stay away from it as much as I can. But what type of advice would you give people when it comes to doing right from wrong?
Well, you can't always trust that voice inside of you because let's say you had an external trigger, right? Let's say some that dumped you texted you and now she ruined your day and you brought up some weird energy of when she tried to meet to you or whatever. That weird energy she brought into your day that lingers for like the whole day, that up the voice in your head. And now you have many different voices, right? And even if you're not externally triggered, sometimes, well, you're always externally triggered. You're in, you open your feed, something hits you, and you can't avoid that. That's why you can't always go with that inner voice in your head. But I think the fastest way to explain right or wrong is the shame component. Is would you do it in front of the world? Because you're doing it in front of,
Mm,
you're already doing it. Whatever you're doing in the shadows, you're doing it in front of the angelic hosts, the stars, the angels that are the computer system of God, your ancestors, everyone on top that's circling, spiraling, and watching you. You're doing it in front of all of them. And because they're close to God, when you fail in life, none of them are laughing. A lot of people think, man, my ancestors saw that, and dude, they're close to God. That means
right.
that they cannot laugh at you. They're not evil. When you fail, when you fall short, when you sin, when you do something up, none of them are laughing at you. All of them are chanting, get up, get up, get up. They want you to win. They want you up there, man. And I'm telling you right now, shame is the best way to look at it. Like, is it wrong to have an OnlyFans? Well, it's ambiguous and it's eating her inside. She feels ashamed. She gets triggered when
Right,
someone
like
talks.
integrity.
Yeah, you have to go by shame because a pig cannot feel shame, and you are no pig.
Mm,
You will be gods. It says in the Bible, you will be gods, meaning you will be zutni, you will be the correct energy of order by the time you're done your process of individuation, right?
right. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, for now, that's all I got for now. Just on that religion part. I mean, I've been looking at your stuff for a while, and I agree I like how you like collectively express yourself in many ways. But for the religion side, like
Yeah. Well,
I'll
I'll
stay,
never push
I'll
it.
stay, I'll stay.
I never push. I never go up to people and get preachy. I say your time will come. One day you will join our side, and you'll be like, "Hey, I'm late." You're not late, bro. I'm older than you guys, bro. I'm the one who's late. Like,
Right,
take
right.
your time.
I just
Yeah,
like how you explain it in many different ways. Like you don't just try to push it, like you say, on just
yeah, yeah. Because I'll say
one
this:
agenda.
my trauma was always being around dogmatic Christians, whether TV or whatever they are so bad at converting people.
They focus on one thing. Is that why?
Well, I mean, they make their God their pastor. Like, for example, did you know I can make anything you do throughout the day, whether it's Fortnite, whether it's even playing sports, I can make anything you do biblically satanic. I can make the argument and bury you. And I've done it before just to like prove to Christians that this is not how you convert people. And I'm telling you right now,
Hmm.
using the internet, I can't imagine a more satanic tool. Wearing Nike.
That's why.
Wearing
That's why I
Nike
asked
is you're
you,
wearing
like,
the
right
logo of
from wrong.
Saturn, right? Yeah, pretty much you could look at everything. Why you can turn anything you're doing, anything you touch into satanic is because the beast is 666, which reduces to 9 months in the womb. It's you. That temptation force,
Mm,
you, at the end of the day, it's not Satan who's going to grab that sword and kill an innocent person. It's man. You're going to follow his
us.
vibration. You understand? And a lot of Christians love to do this. Well, Satan, it's Satan. Satan made me do it. Take some responsibility. No, I don't believe in works, bro. It's faith. It's you, man. Snap the fuck out of it. The only fear is you, because you're the one listening to the vibration of evil.
Facts.
Okay, let's get some other people in here.
Yo,
Go ahead.
John, can I jump in?
Yeah, go with energy.
All right, bro. First of all, I want to just, it's nice to meet you. Like, you helped me a lot, especially like with you, Sneeko, Nick, Myron, JQ, and last year. That was like the first time I learned about all this bullshit, and then I went deep into your esoteric stuff.
Yeah.
And honestly, recently on God Pill, you said one thing that has kind of changed my perspective for the last 2-3 months, and it was, you said, in the world of creations, everything is created. You just have to tap into the frequency, and you do that by kind of preparing before you go to sleep and how you sleep. And before that, I felt like I was just drifting. I'm 19, still young, trying to figure shit out. I felt like I was just drifting, moving along, still locking in, but drifting. And now after that, I wake up feeling like that nigga. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for that. I don't agree with you on everything. I'm a Muslim, you're a Christian. We probably disagree on Skenderbeg a lot as Albanians.
Yeah. You're with my
But
family, don't worry.
but I wanted to ask you, before you converted to Catholicism, were you like really Muslim, or were you like
No, I was
were you
like
like,
I was like an Indonesian guy.
so like just like mostly secular, right?
Yeah, I did go through the book. I liked it a lot, but there's something that felt really foreign in my bloodline because I do believe in that bloodline stuff too. And I was like, you can't have the full Albanian experience on Earth unless you tap into the first page of Wikipedia for our people. And there is, like, if you take out Skenderbeg, there is no Wikipedia page. There's not, everything else stems from that. And I'm like, damn, I can't, if I take that out of my experience, then I'm probably 50% Albanian. You know what I mean? In my head, it would torment me. And when I tapped into this side, it felt like, man, this is kind of foreign. I don't know what. When I looked into it, I was like, holy shit. I finally feel like it's not just half my ancestors in my soul. It's like both sides. It's everyone. Well, most of them were Catholic, right? So for me, it was also like a uh, racial experience too. It wasn't just spiritual, or you could say blood and soil is like a spiritual component, right? But yeah, it was also like that's like a personal thing for me. And another thing was the whiteness part. Like like Albanians are. I'm like my brother did the 23andMe, and he's 99.9% white. Like all the DNA is white. We're all white. That to me that feels like very Ottoman when you guys become Muslim. And my family members, some of them get angry when I say this, and it feels like you guys got. I don't know. I'm not trying to make a debate, but it does feel like you guys are like with the Turks, kind of.
I mean, not really, bro. Like, I was born way after the Ottoman era of Albania, right? And like you said, my family was also mostly just secular. The people around me mostly secular. Here and there you'll find a religious Muslim or a religious Christian. I'm from like central Albania, like Korch, right?
Yeah,
But I had to find this shit on my own. So like to me, it doesn't really feel like I'm like going against my ancestors, right, by becoming Muslim.
bro.
It
At
was
the end
just
of the day, you don't need to be a Catholic to go to God. It's just your best ticket. That's what we teach. Like good people go to God even if they're not Christians. We know that. Like it's been talked about for thousands of years. We're not going against that argument. But I saw that 1,000% ticket. Do you have any other question?
yeah. Also, you said like because you like identified as white or whatever, right? And how your brother was 99% white, it felt wrong to be Muslims. But what do you think about
Well,
like
I'll say this.
like
Here's why it felt wrong. It's that you would be. It sounds crazy, right? But you know how Arabs in Saudi say you have to speak Arabic to understand the Quran? They're kind of saying to your face, "You're not with us." That's the problem I had when I used to watch Speaker's Corner. When they kept repeating, "You have to speak Arabic to have this full experience." Because I'm like, "Whoa, no one else talks like that. What the? Why are they alienating like that?" To me, that bothered me. Whereas in Catholicism, like a Filipino Catholic and an Italian Catholic, they're like at the same level. That made way more sense to me.
I mean, I kind of see where you're coming from, right? But at
Yeah,
the
it's like
same
saying
time,
you have to go through a Latin Bible to fully immerse in the experience, and it's like no, 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 you don't.
yeah, but like wouldn't you want to read your like text in its original form and fully understand it in that form as well?
Okay, if you like original form so much, then you should be with your original form of Albanians who were with Skenderbeg. They're Catholic.
I mean,
You know what
look,
I mean?
that
If we're
that
going
only
by original, let's go to the original, like the root. Like, you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying,
Yeah, I love this
right?
guy.
But I'm not asking like race wise. I'm saying like like as you said, like for the text, right? Wouldn't you like want to read it in like? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? How it's if you
Yeah.
read it in its original form, you kind of like you feel more connected to it in that way.
Yeah, but that's not the argument they make. They make that it's the only 100% experience, where I don't really buy into that, bro.
I kind of see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like but I guess you could say like the Italians in the Vatican that they're elitist with their. You can make the. I don't know. There's black cardinals. There's all sorts of. It feels more a Catholic does mean universal. It's for everyone, right? All right. What's the next question, guys?
Yo, Zherka.
Hit me.
What's the alchemical manual for making the best of semen retention?
That's a long.
The Alchemist.
That's a long
The
process.
only one.
That's a seasonal process, but it's not.
What was the question?
Don't worry about the question, because there's like 1% of the population that goes through that. Like most people are not. They cannot do it. Their souls are not purified. Okay, or they cannot actually get to that level. That's like a sage's. Only a sage can do that, right?
Also, Sola Scriptura is Kabbalistic. It comes from Giovanni Pico da Mirandola.
Yeah, you guys use this Kabbalistic term like it's satanic. A lot of Kabbalism is with a C is in Christianity. There are Jewish Kabbalism. There's Hermetic. I don't know which one you guys are talking about, but just to blanket statement, use this word. I mean, look at the difference from Hermetic. Look at the difference from Hermetic Kabbalism versus
an
the Jewish.
abomination in the eyes of the Lord.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying and stuff, but when you say it, make it specific. What part are you talking about?
What, like magic? The
Yeah,
stuff that starts with a J, it has a J and a K in it, and where you call upon Satan for power to do things
okay, please tell me who in this chat, who in this call has summoned Satan? Who are you attacking, bro?
At least one of us did, and I'm not going to say his name. And I don't dabble in magic.
Okay, so you're saying I summoned him, okay?
Hey, not at all. Not at all, sir.
Well, that's what you guys always go to, right?
Hey, I was referring to someone else.
Who else is in this call? What the?
I was talking about myself.
Let's be real. Let's be real.
Okay, so you're saying you summoned Satan before?
It was an accident. I became possessed, and I was reading the Bible when I was on drugs, and I became possessed, and I did a weird ritual with like it was supposed to like represent the primordial ooze for science, like the science part of creation, and it summoned the devil.
Okay, what happened then?
A serpent spirit just came into the room, and I chased it around, and I just tried to catch it till I was dizzy, and then ever since then I've been on this wild mission from God.
Yeah, no, drugs definitely take people to Satan.
Sounds like a bad trip, bro.
Like, I hate people doing drugs in the Bible. I've had some good emails where people say I did Adderall and read the Bible and they like finished it. I've read that, but guys, if you're doing psychedelics and stuff like that, you're f***ing yourself up.
Yes, when you take psychedelics, it kicks the door open to the spirit world, and those things are not for the living to see. Trust me.
Yeah, exactly, and it's all dwelling in the depths, right? And you might think you have control of the depths, and look at this, I have power over them. They always win eventually,
and they exist just beyond the edge of perception, and they're all around us fighting a war on our behalf every second of every day. And like most people don't even take like a couple seconds out of their day to look up at God and give and like be grateful and say thank you for everything you do for me, God. Thank you for giving me another day. Amen.
Yeah, that's internally though, bro.
Yep, 100%. Every day with every meal and before bed. It should. I don't care if it's 10 seconds. A prayer is always good. Okay.
Yo,
who's next?
Can you hear me? JD said he'll right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, so I want to add something to what the last speaker was saying. What do you think, Zherka, about those ancient, I don't know if it was medieval times, but somewhere around that time period, Some say that mushrooms they were used in the time of the Bible. I'm not saying I believe this, right? But I've heard these arguments. I've seen some interviews out there, people that, and I never tried mushrooms, by the way, but I've heard some Christians saying that mushrooms was in the Bible, was just mistranslated. Have you heard of anything about that? And what about those
Yeah,
paintings that feature mushrooms and even UFOs?
yeah. I think they try and misconstrue the word manna in the Bible for mushrooms, and
Right,
I don't really give a about the argument because most real psychedelic experiences with no drugs or no herbs or no nothing, most real visionary experiences have always been through an imaginative, meditative state, and like a lot of people will say, a lot of Christians will attack me, will be like, a shaman's experience is not Christian. And it's like, no, no, dude, you've been psyoped. Exactly what these shamans, which I agree that they need Christ, but these guys who are having visions here in another part of the world, they describe seeing the same thing as Ezekiel. Everywhere around the world, these sages have the same visions, right? So you don't ever make Christianity just like one little part of the world. It's everywhere,
right.
right? It's just the scripture is the fastest way to go to the top, or really to have Christ come down and pick you up, because you are wounded. But yeah, 100% remember that all religious experiences, whether pagan, whether this, they all encompass, they're all under the scope of Christianity. It's just that they're playing with demons in it and stuff. It's
100%.
not that there's other gods out there. When you hear the words in any text of gods plural, it's talking about psychic impulses. You're basically, if you fiend from lust and you chase women or blah blah, and your bank account's going down and you just chase women and you're obsessed and blah blah blah, this is your god. If you're greedy, it becomes your god, right? When you see gods plural, or like the wrath, which is Mars energy, all these energies inside us are good. We pervert them when we touch them, and we go from energy to too much energy to wrathful, correct? But what you got to remember is all these religions, it's not that they're fake and stuff like that. It's they're all misinterpreting impulses, demonic impulses, with God, with
Hmm.
this, with that.
A
And
lot of
remember,
people,
what
a lot of these
what
people are doing it intentionally. They get the person into the Old Testament, and then they start telling them wrong things, like how the Bible is cyclical,
yeah,
like it goes in cycles, and it never says that anywhere in the Bible. It
yep,
talks about how all these prophecies came to pass, and it's supposed to, according, like Norm Macdonald said, the end of the Bible is pretty easy to predict if you're familiar with the Scripture, which I understood to be the Old Testament growing up, but apparently Scripture counts as any type of religious text, including the Quran. But
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That they all got perverted. They all had some
if you
correct
got
messaging,
some
and they
cult
all,
leader
yeah,
on
they
YouTube
don't just
about
they don't
Scripture,
just get perverted. They
it has
change the
anything.
yeah, they don't just get perverted. They change the stories over time until they change the names, and now it's Esau, now it's this. But really, it's like all mystical experiences throughout history have always been Christian, especially in the in the Old Testament. Don't get me wrong, right? Like a lot
Because
of
we
people are like, wait, but that makes no
the
sense.
one true and living God,
Yeah. And now these different interpretations and stuff,
Holy Trinity.
I'm not saying that they all go to hell. Like we're not here to judge that, but I'm saying that we can
No one
see the
has to go to
core.
hell. Go to
You can
hell.
you
It's
if you
your
want to
fault.
find if you
Put in.
want to find the core being of God, it's the most attacked thing on earth, and that would be this Christian faith. That's why you look at the Olympics, they're not mocking other religions, right?
100%. I got something else to add. So, you know how in the Old Testament there was the mention of sacrifices, correct? I spoke with some translators a couple of years ago about 2020, and they told me specifically, and they even gave me some books, and I saw that a lot of the very tools that Christians use, like the Strongs, and there's another one that I don't recall the name. It actually there's a lot of bias from the author itself. It showed a lot of kinks. I'll give you an example. For example, like in the book of Timothy, right, the Epistle of Timothy, it says every Christian quotes, or at least almost every Christian quotes that every word is inspired by God, right? But you and I have the notes, and I was actually looking at this today. There, that word is inspired by God. The word is, it was added. That was not there. It was, if you look it up in the software, the biblical software is actually number 9999. And you know what about that nine energy, right, Zerka? It actually wasn't even there. It should be every scripture inspired by God, or inspired is God breathed, right? So it's not that every scripture, every word is inspired. Is that every scripture inspired, meaning that there are scriptures that are inspired and there are others that are not, because of the mental filter of men. And how do we know this? Because even in the Bible itself, like in Jeremiah 7, Isaiah, and Psalm 40, God says, I didn't talk to you about sacrifices. I didn't want them. It's like the hearing ability of Israel was so far off. And remember, they came from a polytheistic background, that they did not hear God correctly. And I'll finish with this, and I'll let you comment. There is the allegory of Scripture. It gets it goes beyond people's heads, especially when you look at the Bible and try to discern it for yourself. It's like a sea of information that it was meant for a specific audience. Like Matthew was for a Jewish audience, right? They understood that language, but when you look at for example, the Gospel of Luke, he recorded the teachings of Jesus and all their encounters for the Greeks, for the Gentiles, and it's more direct. Is that it doesn't use all the allegory that Matthew used, because he was Jewish and Luke was a Gentile doctor, right? So it's interesting that a lot of Christians are looking at the Bible, and specifically when it comes to allegory, and even when it comes to mistranslations, and they get lost. They can take a passage and take it as it is when it was actually mistranslated. A word was
The
added
King
in,
James version
and
is
it
pretty
takes.
good.
Actually,
Have you
the
ever read
King
it
James
out
version, it
loud?
has its errors as well.
Yeah,
It has its
I
errors as
sometimes feel
well. But
I feel
go ahead
like
and
it's
comment.
negative when unless you're like having a scholarly debate. I feel like it's very negative when people are like, no, this version, no, that version. Let's get people
I
into the
read the Good
Bible.
News Bible out
It-
loud last summer, and that's for like people that are new to English and kids and people that are just reading it for
Yeah,
the
let's
first
just get
time. It was
people
great.
into it first. Yeah, let's get people into it first. Like that's the hard part,
The
right?
Good News Bible is good. You'll understand the whole thing. And by
Hey,
the way,
I've even
666,
liked
it
I've
said
even
refers
liked
to
the
someone's initials.
I've even liked the amplified. So as long as it gets people into it, that's step one. I don't really care about step two, really, because you're never going to be the perfect
Let me
scholar.
say something controversial. Let me say something controversial. I believe that the Bible's a tool, right? For who is drawn into it,
Well,
absolutely he should use
Christianity
it. But
points
having
through
studied the Bible for
religion.
10 years, Zerka, day and night, fasting and prayer and worship and all whatnot, I was like, it actually, I would recommend people to go within prior
Yep.
to going
I don't
into
know
the
that.
Bible, because the Word of God is within our hearts. That is
Yep.
something that, and even Paul says it
Yep.
himself. He says that those that look to the Word by the letter instead of the
Yep.
Spirit, they're
Yeah. Oh,
You
blind.
dude.
can't
So
discern the meaning of the word without the Holy Spirit. It'll mean something completely different from you
Ex-
if you read
Yeah,
it
but
without
check
it.
it out. Here's what he's saying. JD's saying if the spirit dwells within,
The
start there before you start going through scripture. Because like this is why when people say, "Oh, I'm not into it," I don't try and force them to get into it. It's not your turn. But 100%, I don't preach religion. I feel like when I meet religious people, they're very demoralized. We love to lie and say that they're like ready for war. They look just as depressed as atheists to me. They don't look at the young religious people. Like we see them in our chats, in everyone's chat, sneak codes.
It's almost like they're
Yeah,
forced.
and it looks like they're missing a spiritual experience because they have a religious dogmatic experience. Like anyone can have that. It has to come from within, and that really requires you to cut away from this ego that says you're a Fortnite player, you're this, you're that. It's what you're going to leave on Earth for others that's going to last. What you're doing with Fortnite, money, women, that stuff is gone with the wind. It has to be a spiritual experience first. But let's get. I think Felix wanted to talk. We'll throw him up here. Keep going for now, guys.
Uh, I want to bring it to the 304s
Yeah, go anywhere.
oh my
Just
God.
keep as long as yeah, go anywhere because I don't like
because
this.
I was so today.
I love
Well,
jumping around. That's fine.
Okay, cool. Nah, today so I had this girl and she wanted to go
I
out.
didn't mean to interrupt, but one last thing is like someone
Go
said
ahead, go ahead.
something about Catholics. I just like to point out that Jesus Christ himself was not a Catholic.
Oh, here we go.
So there you go. That's all I'm
Yes,
saying.
he
You don't
was,
have.
Nick.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
he
you can make the same
was.
Jesus wasn't
argument
a
for it. He
Catholic.
was not a
Okay, go
Baptist.
ahead.
He was
Sorry,
not
go
an
ahead.
Okay,
Anglican. He was not an
right. But when
Adventist.
you guys say this,
It never ends.
when you guys say this, effectively, what you're doing is breaking down this 1.5 billion
I'm doing what
people. No, no.
Catholics
What you're
hate.
doing is you're breaking down this 1.5 billion people institution for what?
They think that I can't go to heaven, and I'm not saved because I don't have the exact same rituals as they do,
well.
and I just
Listen,
don't believe that. I have a very 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 rich life with God, and I am not Catholic, though I do believe in the Holy Catholic Church.
Yeah,
We
but
say
the
it with the
Eucharist is the
Creed.
presence. You're not in the presence.
Yeah, I think that if you experience the what's it transubstantiation,
Transubstantiation, yeah.
yeah, I think if it happens once, if you've had communion once and it works, you've had enough. I
Yeah, but
believe in
your
that.
soul gets dirty. The Eucharist cleanses your soul.
yeah.
What does it get dirty with?
Well,
Sin, your sin.
do you struggle with faith?
I'm an exorcist.
When you struggle with faith, your soul gets dirty. That's why humans struggle.
Yeah, and that's why they come to God
And
I
right
anyways,
after.
listen. Look, at the end of the day, I don't care what, and I don't care what institution. I just want those
he
institutions to
gets.
grow.
I
They
think
have
God
a
gets
net.
mad at us for arguing about denominations and arguing about how to pray and stuff
100%.
like that. I think that really gets under his skin, honestly. But
Okay.
Let
love
me
you guys.
let me add this thing. Let me add this thing. In First John, it says that this, let no man teach you. Let the Spirit bring into awareness that which you are seeking. Right. So, how do we get rid of all this intellectualism, battle with the soul and the mind? Is by being still and allowing the Creator Himself to reveal that to you if it's meant to at a particular time. Because let me say, all the major revelations I've had is when I was still. A lot of struggle, like the Jacob
Yeah,
struggle, like
facts.
fighting with God until I came to the end of myself. And then, boom,
It's
revelation.
like just push through the fear.
Exactly. And you just let go, observe it,
Yeah. Another thing is,
and
don't.
let go.
A lot of people. You guys should.
Don't beat yourself up over
You
it.
can. You know you're headed down the wrong path when you're trying to force a mystical experience. My dude, just see it as you're pretty much in a gaming chair, flying through the universe. Just hang in there. It's gonna happen. But when you force it, when you try and look for signs and this is wacko, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Go ahead,
The
Felix or
the
whoever.
the
Yo, yo, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been a
spiritual,
while,
like
Zherka.
supernatural experience, if you're ready for it, it will happen for you. I didn't have a supernatural experience that like stood out to me until I was like almost 30 years old. I don't think I experienced transubstantiation till my late 30s, honestly. But you have to earn it because you have to build up a trust. You have to earn trust. God has to be able to trust you to be able to trust you with more. So
Yeah, he
if
Nah,
was.
he's gonna
That's
word,
why he's
word.
talk
testing you
to
every
him,
The
second.
more, listen, listen,
you have to
listen.
earn the trust from him, just like you would with your parents.
The more mystical experience you have, it's kind of like when you experience certain things and you kind of go into another state. The essence of how time changes, and the more mystical experience you have, the more subjective the essence of time becomes. Like you'll notice that when you enter that place, like the laws of time of how they usually work, they don't work. And in that moment, you are kind of like in your own time. It's a very very interesting concept, which both white and black magicians, if they are actually magicians, they'll understand this.
It,
That
Yeah.
you
The
you
way
can kind of enter your own timeline. You
Yeah, and
like
a lot of these guys who email me, message me, you guys don't realize that when you have this direct experience, whether a lot of people have it around 28 years old, whatever, a lot of people the dark night of the soul will be 24 when they finish college and everything's meaningless. Yeah, when you have this experience, you don't realize that 1 second of this experience is enough for you to have this new gaze, and that new gaze lasts you 100 years on Earth. That new gaze you have for everything you see, a tree, the wind, the waters, the blue skies, that new gaze, it lasts. Anyone who tells you that
That's
they're
scary.
fiending for more mystical experience, those people are very misguided. I'm telling you, you get satisfied. And remember, The reason why we die on earth, our bodies die, is so our soul goes on. Because a lot of people choose earth so that their soul can vanish, that they can become NPCs and they become monsters and hollows, right? And so you guys got to remember that as long as the death within doesn't happen, you are ready.
You're good.
You are ready for a. You're ready to be hit by a plane. If it's an accident, I'm saying you're ready for anything.
Fact. So
Right?
we die within first,
Exactly. Yeah.
pretty much.
If you
Yeah.
don't, if you don't
Just,
mind,
just
I
like
actually have
how,
a
just
question.
like how you'll lust with the eyes first. Exactly. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question because I'm a Christian myself. I've studied the scriptures for years. I have a pretty good understanding of it. I hear a lot of talk about supernatural experiences. I'm not really understanding what that means. I know Zerka. I know you've
It's
had.
usually dreams. They're usually talking about dream states, or a lot of people talk about uh,
I could talk
a
about that
certain
as well.
vision that'll happen. Usually, it's in the sleep, right?
Well, I can
Okay.
tell you some
I
mad
saw a
things.
Is
reptilian
is
sprouting
this
tail.
is this
Or for
super?
some people, it's a near-death experience when they feel, all that adrenalized life force, that orgone energy. For some people, it's even when they fall in love with someone and they feel the binding of loving Earth and everything on Earth. You like love a woman. Oh my God! That you're.
Interesting.
Are you loving a woman, or are you loving your experience on Earth? Are you staying on
I
Earth?
think. Yeah. I think that's just an accomplishment.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Now, would you say now what makes it? I understand because I know what you're saying now. Now that you explained it, but wouldn't you say that's more of a natural experience? What is supernatural about that?
Supernatural will be anything that changes your worldview and gives you a new energy and state. So you
You'll
pretty
know
much
that
like,
it is
let's say you
something
have a
from the
near,
other, the
if you have a
spirit
near,
world.
if you hang on, man, if you have a near death experience, and then every day after that you went from the laziest guy to like the hardest worker, that's a supernatural experience, 100%.
Ah, okay, okay.
True.
Now, when Why, it comes,
why not take it a little bit further though? Because if you look in the Jesus did miracles, right? He did extraordinary things, and then he empowered his disciples to do likewise. So when we're talking about the supernatural, I don't believe, at least when we're talking about scriptures wise, it has to go beyond dreams. Oh, I had a dream. I
Well, no,
imagined this.
no, no.
It has
It's
to be
it's
like,
it's gonna
Well,
be
Zerka, didn't you
it's going to
transition
happen
from
through an image.
supernatural?
It's going to happen through imaging, is what I'm saying. It could be daydream. It could be some people have a midlife
sure.
crisis, right? But when you say supernatural, I'm not saying like an exorcist.
No, no, we're not talking
It
about
makes
demon
sense.
casting either. Even though I'm sure that's part of it. You've seen those, demon possessed people 100%.
And
There's also
I'm saying
miraculous
there's
healing.
nothing, bro. There's nothing more euphoric than that stream of images you get every day that you left and right swipe on in your head. You get streams of images from your unconscious. You don't know, man. When all those images move out the fing way for the God image, dude, you know your purpose. You know why you go live every day. Everything shifts. It
Wow.
gets fing intense, man.
Yeah, Zerka,
Yeah, at
Zerka.
that
I
point,
don't
it
get those
becomes a
images, bro.
purpose.
I don't. Obviously, I said some comment to you a while ago.
Yeah, I
I
saw that
don't,
comment. I don't know how much I buy that. Like if you close your eyes, could you imagine a cat?
bro. I swear to you, I got aphantasia, bro. I can't, I
Yeah,
can't, I can't visualize things in my mind. I don't have any. I've,
yeah,
I've
because you're an
been in states
11.
where I'm meditating for
Yeah,
an
but you
hour
got thoughts.
consistently every single
You
day, and
have
just be
thoughts.
thinking,
You're an 11, so your construct is going to be like feeling based. That's why philosophically they
nah,
would
G,
use
it's
they
not
would
feeling,
use.
bro.
You're telling me like to use a philosophical hieroglyphic like a dove. Why it's used to go to visionary states is you can't describe with words faith. It's possible. You always end up looking stupid trying your best. It's just
Mm.
mumbled. But now
The
if
feet.
I show you the image of a dove, now you can capture that feeling and meditate on the feeling of that faith feeling, right? This is why they
Facts.
use
Facts. Facts.
hieroglyphics to go
Yeah,
into
yeah,
higher
yeah,
different states.
yeah.
You're telling me you don't see a dove in your head right now?
Nah,
Oh, give me a break, bro.
bro. I'm so,
Come
bro. It's
on.
like 3% of the population got it. Complete inability to
I think
mentally
you're capping,
visualize.
bro.
No,
You're
I
capping.
get this. Yeah, I get this message from everyone who says, "Dude, Zerka, you manifest strong because your imaging is as a Pisces. You see it all." And I'm like, dude, I'm
I
pretty
mean,
the
everybody's
most blessed.
different, bro. Like, there's people
We're
that
trained.
are not
Humans
rich,
are trained.
but they still feel
There's
rich.
a
Humans are
religion
trained.
that's based on the show Barney.
Yeah, humans are trained to be left brain because we know that tapping into the right brain and then unifying that you can get whatever you want, right? Even good stuff and all that. But when Jesus said, cast your net to the right side of the boat when you're trying to catch fish, he's saying the right side of your brain. that logic analytical thing can drive you nuts. I find it hard to believe,
Oh wow.
Felix, you can't imagine a dove right now.
Bro, I'm not capping to you, bro. I have
Yeah, it's
no.
tough.
Why would I lie? Like,
Yeah, I get
Say
messages, and I
like ten
feel like
times in
a
your
lot
head.
of you guys are like yanking my chain. Like you can't imagine a
Yeah.
dove in your head.
bro, bro,
That has to
I
be
won't get
that
into
you
my
don't see
issues,
grass,
but
bro.
Okay,
You
how
don't
about
go
this,
out.
Felix? You can at least feel a dove's freedom. Can you hear the wings flapping and flying?
yeah, I can feel
Yeah.
the energy. What you said about the faith and stuff, I can feel that, but seeing it is another
Well,
thing.
can you hear if I said that the wings are flapping and it's flying away? Can you hear the wings?
Very slightly.
Because it has to be auditory for you. Then you're an 11.
Like I can kind of almost feel the way that they're moving, like the motion of it. Like
Okay.
11 being the fifth prime number is a very motion based number.
Well, Zerka, wouldn't these images that could possibly pop up be just like from past experiences?
No, because Jung proved with the collective unconscious and all that study he did on that you could have experiences in your head that you've never done before. That's what dreams are.
Mm.
So here, I have a question. In regards to, I know you guys speak a lot about numerology. Uh, how, eh, let's go on the basis that everything you guys are saying is 100% true, and these things work. Because I am under the impression that these things do work. Um, however, what? How do you know? At what point do you know that it's not? Because I know you believe in manifestation, right, Zerka? When you say something, you think something, it comes about. You know,
Actually,
if you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
If it's cooked in water, which meaning emotion, then yeah, it'll come about. But if it's just in the world of forms, then no, it's not going to manifest like that.
okay, so
I was gonna say that it's like you got to plan it.
okay, so if that, let's say we go along those lines, how do we know that it's not just manifestation with the numbers and saying, okay,
A lot of
this
it
is
is.
this?
Yeah,
How do you know
It's
that?
faith, bro.
that's
Faith.
the infinite argument that goes round and round in circles. The argument is it a subjective experience that if everyone on the world says blue is green, it changes to green,
Mhm.
or is it objective that blue is just blue and green is green? And no one can actually answer that, right?
Nah,
There's
I answered it,
a lot
man.
of a lot
There
of
might be
mystics.
primary colors that we've never even seen.
Well, yeah, the eye
No,
doesn't
he's
capture
just
all
giving
that.
an example.
A lot of people have said, a lot of sages throughout time have said that if 8 billion people raised their kids with a lie, but they drilled it in the head of the children that humans live 300 years. There's a lot of people have made the argument that that next generation will live 300 years, but the elites have pushed us down. And in the Bible, they're living very long time back then, right?
100%, like 1,000
Okay,
years
so you're
almost.
saying, so like, for example, if let's say
But
according
I'm
to,
not saying that it's a subjective experience and that you're like God. I'm saying that the argument I'll always fall under is that there's an objective truth, and you somehow in the quantum field with your free will can affect parts of it. For example, like you, we're on a big ship going to God. Now you can't control where that ship's going, but you can definitely choose if you want to sit in the front of it or with the Satanist at the back.
hmm, okay,
The
and now,
Satanists, you can spot them because they tend to celebrate early.
so okay, because a lot of things that the speakers have been speaking about sometimes confuses me. I kind of understand where Zerka comes. Like you're really good with explaining um the more spiritual side of things. Now with the spiritual world, there's good and evil, right? With the spiritual world, there are angels and there are demons, right? There's God and there's the devil.
There's in the middle as
Now,
well. There's
now,
tiers
It's in the
of
middle as
angels,
well.
right?
okay,
Wait, are there
yeah.
actually demons?
So
Like,
So
so what you have to understand,
wait,
right?
wait, hold
In
on, bro.
in
Wait. Let's do one question at a time. I was just asking something real quick.
Yeah, I'm
So
answering your question.
in the spiritual world, there's good and there's evil. So how do you find a balance where because I know Zerka, you've done a lot of research into the spiritual world. How like how how how, how do you balance not crossing over too much into the spiritism aspect of
Right.
things and
Well,
glorifying
yeah.
humanism?
I know what you're asking again. First of all, I reject that concept of that duality. Because that is a more Masonic point of view. Because check this out: there is only evil. You're on. This is the Prince of Darkness. It's his world, like it's his temptations. There's only evil because if all good comes from God, every good idea, everything that makes someone smile, and everything else would be the negation of that. That get good is its in its own category. Good is like this infinite sunlight out there, and
Wow, that
it
makes so much
doesn't
sense.
even get to battle evil. Now you come here and pretend you're God because you think you have free, you have this free will, and you feel like, oh, you can do whatever. Now to you it feels dualistic, but really you're just like swimming through evil, thinking that you're like this magician who's balancing both forces. But if all good comes from God, they're not even in the same category. That the shadow of the human is what's evil. There's no such thing as evil outside of the human.
It says in the Old Testament that like an evil spirit was sent by God to take over this king. So
Yeah,
did God
why?
still send an evil spirit to you and wreck up your
Well,
life
we
if
we
you're
we're
pissing him
sent
off?
evil spirits every day. We're being judged every day, right?
Oh, true.
Well, many are called,
And
few will
a lot
answer
of
the
people
call.
don't realize, like, why would there be a million tests a day? Well, God is giving you almost
Opportunity to
infinite
grow.
amounts of chances with
Tons of work
negative
to get done
outcomes
too.
that destroy your life and make you learn from your mistakes. But if you're getting, let's say, 1,000 chances a day for 100 years, this got to be the most merciful God in ever. Like, this is the only mercy, right?
So are you saying that evil was created by God, or are you saying it?
No, evil is us pretending our choice matters, and it matters to us, but really, ultimately, we all learn to choose.
Oh, so you're saying evil is free will?
Think of evil as the human shadow. That's it. That the human eventually has to like castrate that shadow and go up and purify the soul.
Okay, so it's the imperfection that we have is the evil.
Yeah, and all we have to do is face the sunlight, right? We just have to walk towards goodness because there's only goodness out there. God doesn't do evil.
Right. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
God
Interesting.
only does lessons, right?
Okay, so
So,
the
so Zerka,
imperfection.
Zerka, Zerka. So,
Hey,
do you
Zherka.
Yeah,
believe in then
and
like these
another way to
entities and shit that are
and
negative?
yeah, go ahead.
You see, then what you said obviously about the human psyche, the shadow. I believe what you're saying, but would you say it's fair to say that there are more macrocosmic correspondences as well? So, like for example, XYZ entity. We have like hierarchies of lesser, lower, fallen, dark angels. Like, what do you see them as basically in context to the answer you gave to the other guy?
Yeah, yeah, like like let's say you're selling something from a supermarket would be like a smaller negative force, and then if you're like bring someone, it would be a much larger developed. But that it starts with that sin. You stealing, lying, cheating. It develops, it snowballs. But yeah, I definitely think there's like a hierarchy. Like we even feel it. Like you ever been around a white criminal versus a criminal? Like these are different levels of evil, bro.
Yeah, that is true. I was gonna ask, it relates to this. How do you eliminate those intrusive bad thoughts?
Um, it's not a it's
Without like being solely alone, without going to the gym,
it's not
you
it's
just
never
got
about
work
it's
tired and
it's
stuff.
never about eliminating them or fighting them. Really, like it's really about making the unconscious conscious and finding out why you're having that experience. Because when you find out why, a lot of times that just changes your.
Wouldn't it be like PTSD, past
Yeah,
trauma and
if
stuff
you
like
look
that?
at why humans are the way they are, is every human gets as a child and spends the rest of their life forming a personality and everything
Mm,
around that crack. And everyone has like different cracks, but the magnitude's the same. Really, it just happens in different time.
just bigger, smaller
Yeah,
cracks.
yeah. Some
Yeah,
people have different lessons, and some people have big lessons early. Some people have the big lessons later in life.
that's tough. I felt like I went through a point in my life when I was younger where I had to understand this in order to keep going and feel free. Because I come from a family of three as the firstborn, so I had to lead by example.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
So yeah,
billions of people who went through that, though. You know.
yeah, yeah, for
Like
sure.
as soon as you realize,
But they don't notice. I don't think they acknowledge it. Acknowledging it and like really like sitting on it
I don't like to
makes a
do.
huge
I
difference.
never talk about like my experience is harder than someone else's. I feel like at the end of the day, we all have 100 years of the same level of suffering.
I don't think anybody else will forgive you but yourself.
Jesus forgives sins, and He has the power to do so, and He will if you ask Him and you believe it.
Amen. Let's go.
But you're asking him.
You got to ask Him to forgive you. You got to confess your sins with your
Yeah.
mouth, because it says in the Bible, if it comes out of the
And
mouth,
and a
then
lot
it
of
came
people
from the
don't
heart.
realize, like, you gotta ask him, dude. Even if
So some people got
even if
past
you're
trauma,
even if
like their
you're
like their
even if you're an
parents.
atheist,
It's like a
you're
chain.
constantly in talks with God. That's why when something bad happens, you go, "Oh God, oh shit, oh this." But really, you're constantly talking to God. It's just most of your conversations really
Okay,
negative.
like for a
So what
person
do you
to
say
have
about those
any
people that are
measure,
like kind of like
excuse me,
just jumped into? They kind of
for a
just came into
person
this
to ever
world
have any
past
measure of
trauma.
inner peace, you're gonna have to forgive the person you most want to not
Yes.
forgive on the face of the earth. And for a lot of people, that ends up just being
Yeah.
themselves. And
Hmm.
that was like what I was like in my early 20s,
Yeah.
and I was a huge jerk back then, and it just took some practice, and eventually I learned how to forgive myself. And
Yeah. And
you gotta ask
It's
Jesus
important to
Christ for
understand why,
forgiveness for
though.
sins,
yeah.
and that's how
Listen,
you know that's how you do the
step
thing.
one to forgiving yourself will always come from what gives you the strongest, deepest emotional charge, and you'll catch it. Whatever pisses you off, whatever makes you really sad and stuff, that emotional charge, you can't just like run away from that. You got to actually sit down and be like, why?
Which most people
Yeah,
don't.
and a lot of people don't realize, like, never, the Bible doesn't say be a monk. It says if you're angry, be angry, but don't lose character. Don't shift states into a wrathful person. Like, don't be a
Mm.
different thing. Be yourself.
Do not
But if you're
conform.
angry, like for example, when Zherka's angry, young people convert to Christianity. I start screaming, "There's veins in my neck." That's good anger. That's good Mars energy, right? But if I
That's what we
keep
say.
going with it too far, it turns to wrath, right? So it's like use your gifts. And the man, the craziest part that no one talks about is in this matrix quantum field, you don't know how unique you are. That if you spent your whole life wearing a mask, being a fake person, and made millions of dollars, you would have died the least authentic person on earth because you were born unique. And if you spend your whole life being fake, you died not opening the only gift man is given, which is uniqueness.
Facts.